elevated ones, that they're just looking at the purity of the heart of the person. So they definitely need like a gentle environment, you know, or connection to somebody that's very gentle, I would think.
Now, what do you mean by elevated? You mentioned before about people being a certain way because their soul was lower. Explain that.
Well, I think we have different levels of souls, you know. In other words, you could be an old soul, and there could be a young soul, and there could be somebody who's medium, in between.
Meaning that they weren't that the old soul was created a lot earlier, been through more lives.
They've been through, and that sometimes they're not even coming, they're not returning, they're not coming back. That they're just kind of like integrating everything in this earth plane, even the yin and the yang. They're integrating past relationships, past connections with people. You know, sometimes there's theories, you know, why the soul comes in. There's a certain design, a certain contract when people come to see you, to me, to connect to you. You know, you can tell a lot of times by a total birthday if you've been connected to somebody in a past life, you know, if there's a soul connection. And it's called family of souls. So what I mean by that, there's just different levels of soul. Young souls, you can kind of feel them. They're still kind of like, they're having fun. They're not really looking necessarily for wisdom, and not to be critical. They're just in another vibration.
They would be the souls that would be wreaking havoc.
Wreaking havoc. There's no consciousness with it. There's no wisdom with it.
Like kids that go out and do bad things and you know, and hate things and things like that.
Right.
You would say that they were young souls that hadn't really been around long enough to learn the ropes.
Or anger, holding in a lot of anger. Because people that hold in a lot of anger, when you think about it, tend to be pretty young. Because they haven't learned how to release it totally, so they can't move to another vibration of a love connection.
You know, you talked about soul connections, though. I've come across some people, especially of late, maybe because I'm more open to it now, that you feel a connection to, that you look in their eyes and you say, I know this person, but I'm not sure I know this person from here. You know, and it happens.
Well, I think in Vedic astrology, they look at the sun and the moon, the signs in the sun and the moon, and sometimes the Venus and Mars, and sometimes you can tell from that if you were connected in the past to that person.
In Vedic astrology?
I know my niece is Capricorn rising.
Yeah.
And I'm Capricorn, so the Vedic astrology told me I had been definitely connected to her in a past life.
Wow. No, you never know. You might have been her mother, or vice versa, or something, whatever. That's interesting. Very interesting. Well, tell me though, you were saying before that, I mean, can you say, I'll give a couple of examples of what two signs might go together and make a good relationship, whether it be a business partnership or a romantic relationship, or a relationship between a child and a parent?
Well, to generalize, like the zodiac sign, just say yes. Well, for instance, I've noticed Capricorn and Virgo tend to work well together. They tend to work well together. I see that. Because they both tend to be ambitious. They both into work. And because the Virgo tends to serve and the Capricorn's ambitious, they do tend to work together well.
What about romantic relationships?
Romantic relationships
that go pretty good?
I'm sorry, which one?
Any two that go pretty good?
I think also Capricorn and Cancer is a very interesting connection. I've seen that. It's because they're both into tradition and the home. And there's a very nice harmony between those two signs, you know. Libra needs a balance with Libra. I can see Libra and Pisces.
Yeah. That
could be very gentle, very soft, very pleasing, you know. I could see it definitely also. I could see that. It's more looking at the vibrational level of that sign, you know, in general, you know, the zodiac sign.
I see. Now, you say that most of the people that come to you with questions are women. Now, tell me about, why do you think that most of them are women anyway, first of all?
That's cute. Yeah, well, I think
women are more into relationships.
They're into more relationships, yeah, emotionally.
Yes.
I always wonder how men marry. I'm still figuring that out.
Right, who knows?
I don't, because they're not approaching relationships the same way initially. It's
I know,
like
they have
so
two different approaches, it's true.
I don't understand. I'm still trying to understand that. But mostly women definitely ask about romance, you know, and they are definitely interested in how the other person is seeing them, how the other person feels towards them. When they'll see the other person, you know, if there's somebody else around the other person. And a lot of times you can also tell from a total birthday who's going to be more faithful too. That's another story.
Really?
Oh, yeah, definite.
Wow.
I was going out with somebody kind of on and off a few years ago, but I knew he was married 3 times before.
Yeah, be careful of those people.
But he had his Venus and the Mars. I knew automatically. It's impossible for him to be one-on-one. It was totally impossible. And if you look at people's total birthday, you will see that some people will not be totally one-on-one, that they don't fit into the word marriage. You know what I mean?
Then they shouldn't do it.
Maybe dating, you know, but not marriage. Is if they really want to be in a total committed relationship.
Yeah, well, if they don't, then they shouldn't get married, huh? Although some of them do.
Some of them do.
That's why there's such a thing
and
as
that's
divorce.
Why
there's divorce.
High divorce rate also.
Oh yeah, so well, a lot of people, they get into relationships or get into marriage or even business partnerships, you name it, for the wrong reasons.
Right.
You know, or blindly, they don't know what they're doing, or they don't know the other person, what they're capable of. Yeah.
They don't study the other person enough, I think. Sometimes you see, if somebody has a lot of sexual signs in their planets, then sex is an issue with them. I mean, then they need that more than anything.
Now, what do you mean by sexual signs?
Well, the Scorpio and Aries are both ruled by Mars, but they both tend to be sexually oriented. They're core. So they might tend to have, especially Scorpio, tend to delve more into the sexual part initially before they study the other person and know more about the other person.
In other words, they want to start the relationship with sex.
Sexual. Yes.
That's interesting.
And sometimes it could be a distraction from knowing the person because it can be powerful.
Oh, sure.
Right.
You know, when you jump into that kind of relationship right away, then you don't really give yourselves, you're doing yourselves a big disservice. Both of you, because you don't give yourselves a chance to really know each other and who's that person and what's inside them. You know, the physical, when it starts with the physical, it doesn't last long, and if it does, then it just stays physical. That's it.
Right.
That's the only thing that two people have going for them, and that's not a lot.
Right.
You know.
And supposing if the woman gets pregnant, then the physical becomes then there's sometimes an obligation for the marriage or the connection to live together.
Right, or you're just stuck knowing that person for the rest of your life, like it or not, because you have something in common.
Right.
And even if you want to sever your relationship, you can't totally, because that's why people, I don't know, that's what makes for a lot of people having problems, because they go into relationships, not only romantic, but business relationships, all kinds of relationships, just not knowing what they're doing.
I agree.
They don't take their time, and they don't look over the whole situation, look over the whole picture. And that's why there's so much divorce, I'm sure. These people just do things for the wrong reasons. Yeah.
Sometimes working together with somebody helps also. I mean, I've seen like in the pioneer days, you know, there was a different energy going on between man and woman in relationships. You know, they might work together more. You know, they had more designated roles, so to speak.
Well, they had to raise their own food.
Yeah, they had to do more self-oriented, rely on themselves. They weren't as alienated from their partner.
And in those days, the husband didn't go off to work as much as today.
Right, they weren't alienated, you know, and they were more tied up with their own community, their own immediate community.
Right, and then their families and all that, And I guess relationships lasted longer that way.
Probably did.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of reasons for people not lasting in their relationships is the fact that they don't see each other as often as they should or as much as they should. Very often a married couple is just ships passing in the night, you know, especially if two of them are on different shifts in their jobs, you know, hello, goodbye, you know, and just that's it.
And sometimes it would depend on their birth date also, because sometimes some birthdays are just more work oriented, you know. They're obsessed with work.
So then there are birth dates that would sense to make people
set the
workaholics?
Framework. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's another factor.
So in other words, in your birth date, with all the different 7 planets that you're born with, can determine whether you're going to be a sex fiend or a prude.
Right.
Or a workaholic or a lazy bum couch potato.
Right, sometimes. Well, the sexual part I can see. I can definitely see that. If somebody maybe has a little more earth signs, they might be slower, because they're more cautious. Some signs are more cautious, so they might not get involved so immediately.
They'll take their time
sexually.
And make sure they know what they're doing.
They're going to look at the security more. If somebody has more the other type of security, the practical security. If somebody has a lot of earth signs, they might look more at the practical security of their partner, or their financial security, If somebody has a lot of water sign, they're going to look at the emotional security.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah. Although, as a Cancerian also, I also look at the practical side of the financial security end too.
That's a Capricorn.
That's the Capricorn? Yeah. Although, it's not that important, but it helps.
Yeah, the ambition. I would think you'd need somebody who's ambitious.
Yeah.
If they're not ambitious, that would bother you.
Yeah, I wouldn't want somebody around me who doesn't do anything.
Right, okay.
And who just vegetates. No, that would not sit with me, no. No. I would have to have someone around me who was, ambitious, as you said. So, anyway, anything else that you would like to add to the information that we've been had? This has been very interesting so far, Carol. We wanted to talk about the zodiac signs and how they relate to the relationships as far as.
Well, I just thought of one thing that's interesting when we talk about relationships. And you just mentioned the zodiac signs. That some women, there's a lot of women that are, I found to be obsessed with a married man.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Yeah, I know some people like that.
Okay. Now, if you look at their birth date, you might see that they have a lot of stubborn signs in their total birth date.
Stubborn?
Well, if they had a lot of Tauruses in there, or a lot of Aquarius in there, something that keeps pushing it, so that they don't give up.
Give up.
They don't give up with who they want, So again, when somebody wants somebody,
don't give up until the spouse comes after them, right?
Yeah, right, right.
But go ahead.
It's true. But I've noticed that also. There are some clients that just won't give up. They won't. I mean, some clients will do fasting, a candle, anything and everything to
try to get this person to leave their spouse and go with them, which is really next to impossible. And one thing we know, and you read it in Dear Abby all the time, don't get involved with a married person to begin with, and you won't have the problem of having to do all this stuff. Go find somebody single. So many single people out there, it's not funny.
Then there's also with that, interesting with the signs, is that some women, some clients have gave birth, but their children or the child doesn't know the true parent.
Huh?
Yeah, that they think that the parent is somebody else. So that particular client would have maybe a lot of dramatic signs in them, signs that they could easily, I hate to say, lie about. They're comfortable doing that.
Comfortable lying? Because they don't know?
No, in other words, they gave birth. They have a child, but the child doesn't know who the real father is.
Because the mother doesn't know who the real father is.
No, the mother does know, but she doesn't want the child to know.
Oh, wait a minute, now you're confusing me here.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I can't fathom that. I cannot fathom a child not be, if the mother knows who the...
I have that. I've had that with some clients.
And won't tell, were they ever married, or I guess not?
They were, I have one client that I've been reading for. Her husband, she's working for the man. And the child doesn't know, and she's not in this area, so way in the South. So the child doesn't know the real father. My client is working for this man. He is her boss. and she gave birth about maybe 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And the child doesn't know that her father is her boss. She thinks it's this woman's ex-husband. Now, this woman happens to have a lot of Leo signs in her. You know, it's, again, the drama.
But don't you think that's cruel, not to tell your kid who their father is?
That's a whole other story, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying maybe there's certain signs that can be more dramatic and is capable of substituting words. I don't like to use the word lie, but you know what I mean.
But that's downright nasty to do that.
Yeah,
it really is.
I have a few clients.
You had. So then it's something that's not uncommon for a mother to not tell. That is, but you know, it's depriving the child of knowing their other parent, and it probably leaves some kind of a mark on them.
Especially if the child ever finds out. I wouldn't even want to know about.
Oh yeah, if the child ever found out, but how would they find out?
Well, you don't know. Maybe later on.
Maybe.
You don't know.
Now, do the fathers know that that's their child? Does this father know that his daughter is the one that's... And he don't tell her? Whoa.
No.
This is getting real interesting now.
And they work, and the woman is still working for him in the same office.
And she has no idea that she's working for her father?
No, the woman who gave birth is still working for him.
Oh, for the man who's the father of the child?
Yep.
Oh, I see. I see. It's not the child that's working for the father.
Right, no.
Oh, I see. Oh, isn't that amazing?
Even worse.
And she won't tell the child that this woman is, I'm sorry, but she's strange.
Yeah.
Whoever she is.
Yeah.
Very sad. Very sad for her, too, because how can you be that way?
Yeah, no, it's sad.
And is the child like...
But she happens to have a lot of persistent signs in her total birth date that she will not give up, trying to get this man back in her life. He's married.
Oh, I see now.
She's not married. But she has a lot of persistent signs. If she didn't have a lot of persistent signs in her, in the total birth date, she would have given up. But she has a lot of stubborn signs in her, so that she won't give up.
I don't know how she can go to work every day, see this man.
She has a lot of Leo.
And all of these years,
Sun,
he
Moon
hasn't...
in Leo, Venus in Leo. So she needs also a lot of attention, you know, from him. And she's capable of being an actress all at the same time, because, you know, that sign tends to be acting. We're not criticizing Lee, we're just showing that sign in a particular type of an incident.
Oh, yeah, right. Although I don't understand that kind of behavior, to tell you the truth. You know, and then him, too. I don't understand where is he coming from?
Yeah, and he doesn't give child support. So it's sad to say that, because I realize with that, because he doesn't give child support, what happens a lot of times when people do call, and everybody to me can call for a spiritual reading. It's not because somebody who calls for a spiritual reading there's something wrong, you know? Because there's nothing in life is perfect when it comes to emotions.
Yeah.
But they call it not because, again, I stress that there's nothing necessarily wrong with them. Everybody needs a spiritual reading, you know? It's just working with the emotions, you know? But in her case, she doesn't give up. You know, in her case, she just won't give up. So it's...
she's depriving herself, too, because she probably could have met somebody else and had a nice relationship.
Right.
You know, does she still see the man?
She works for him.
Works for him, but
and
I mean...
she still wants him back in her life.
But they're not what they were once.
Right.
I see, I see. Well, I guess it takes all kinds to make the world go round, huh?
You know, I've had a few stories like that. Yeah, a few stories like another story like that. She had a lot of secretive signs in her, a woman. You know, she was in my store, and I used to give readings for her, but she never really told me what she was really asking for. Now, sometimes if somebody has Scorpio in them, they can tend to be secretive. And so she was never really being totally honest with me with her questions until later on the man that she was with called me up to tell me that they had a child together. And this is another story where now the woman is married, but her husband doesn't know that the child, her husband thinks it's his child.
And she's allowing him and the child to believe that. How could she live with herself?
That's another type of story. Yes.
That's another, yeah.
But because she's capable of doing that, she has a lot of secretive signs in her.
So she can keep the secrets.
If somebody was very direct and open, they couldn't do that.
But don't you think that people who do things like that, something must eat at them inside or something?
Yeah, sometimes, no. Some people, you can say that because you're talking from a consciousness.
Yeah, I have a conscience.
Some people don't. If some people have a lot of self-righteous signs in, again, their total birthday,
really?
They're going to feel they're very self-righteous. They're not going to feel guilty. They'll feel that they're doing, quote, the right, and I use the word the right thing, for them and whoever is around them.
Oh, in other words, so I'll keep this secret because it's the right thing.
Right.
In other words, what everybody else doesn't know won't hurt me.
Right. I was supposed to have the child. It's for the child's better good. It's for the child's good, you know? And maybe this father is a better father than my husband, you know? And they're on the, quote, the right path. They only want the right thing.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing as far as that's concerned. What are specialty relationships? The influence of the signs in the planets.
The influence of the sign. Well, each sign influences, we were talking that before, it creates more of a character, or creates a character of that birthday, you know?
Mm.
So
then everyone is born, we all have our own birth date. Some of us know it and some of us don't. Most people know it, I guess, at least in this country anyway. At that moment that we're born, it makes us unique, and we have a unique personality. I mean, I know someone I've met a couple of people actually over the years that were born on the same day as me, but a different time.
Right.
Same day, same year.
But a different time.
Different time of the day. And they have totally different lives than I have.
Their rising sign is different. So it changes the course of events. It changes the course of events according to your chart.
I see.
Yeah, it changes the course of events.
Well, let's talk about then, just very briefly before we close, it just occurred to me, Jesus' chart. Now, he was born, and they're saying that he might be a Virgo or a Libra, or a Leo, I mean, instead of a Sagittarius.
Capricorn.
Capricorn, sorry. Right, that's right, December 25th would be Capricorn. Now, they say that the stars were in the sky in a certain way and the planets were in the sky in a certain way, and they dispute the possibility that he was actually born on December 25th. They think that somewhere between September 15th and August 22nd, I think, is the dates that I've heard.
Well, that's interesting. I'm not aware of that.
You weren't aware of that?
But that would create a whole new... I'm not aware of it, but that's also very interesting.
Oh yeah, there's been astrologers that have sat and done Jesus' chart.
Right.
And
with the new birth date.
And they said
I'm not aware of the new birth date. That's what's okay.
Well, now, yeah, because what they did was they looked to see where the planets were in the sky, because they said that it was not possible for the shepherds to be out tending the sheep in that bitter cold. It had to be way before that, when the seasons were warmer, for them to be out under the stars tending their sheep.
Okay, now that's very interesting. Okay, that's logical too.
So they came to the conclusion that he was not born in December. He was born sometime between September 15th, August 22nd and September 15th. That's it.
That's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Also, you mentioned before astrology in this country. Astrology is all over. You know, it's a very old science and art form, you know, in different countries.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have the Vedic astrology, which I did a show about.
Right, exactly. I mean,
it's different.
Chinese, American, Indian.
There's all different astrologies,
you know,
all different ways of looking
many
at...
moons, so to speak. Really, many moons.
Oh, yeah. Astrology is an age-old science.
And also, to cover it also with the partnerships, it can be definitely used with parent-child. If the parent is very aware, you know, and insightful with their child's birthday, they can actually see the talents, more of the talents of the child would be geared towards. And they used to do this.
And they would push the child in that direction.
And they used to do this in the Renaissance period.
I wonder how well that worked.
Well, they used it, and I've used that. I used to also teach in school, and I used to see I used to study a lot of times the birth dates of some of the children, and you could see sometimes how they could definitely be directed more with their total birthday. If somebody has a lot of air signs, you know that they rule by the mind. They need to think a lot. Maybe they'll do more research. If somebody has a combination of water and earth, they're more creative. They tend to be more creative.
Oh, so then you can take someone's birth date and say, well, I mean, you do it with adults. You guess you can do it with children too.
Definitely.
And say, well, this child would have a tendency to be more creative, or
definitely,
or this child should work with their hands more, or whatever.
Definitely, because sometimes the teachers will not have that insight with the child because the teachers are just trained to execute what they need to execute, you know, for that period. But I have seen that.
Very good, interesting. Well, this has been a really interesting conversation, and some of the stuff that's come out is I didn't expect. But it's been really nice having you here, Carol.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed it very much, and I hope that our audience has too. And thank you very much for your coming here tonight.
Thanks, Christine.
Good night.